VSiN, the sports betting network.
The numbers told the story, they always do.
It's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
This is a numbers game with Gil Alexander on VSiN.
Good Friday morning to you. It is a numbers game at VSiN, the sports betting network, VSiN.com, Game Plus, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV, and of course, Sirius XM channel 158. It's great to be alive. It's great to be American and alive. What a time of year.
That's right.
Sweet 16, Major League Baseball.
Rock Flag Eagle.
What a country. It's Gil Alexander. It's Kelly Bidlin. I didn't really plan on going patriotic.
No, I liked it. I enjoyed
it.
it.
Came out of my soul. I tapped my soul, and that's what came out. What a show on Friday. Do I even have to say it at the top as to what a great show we have on Friday? Dr. Bob will join us with his college basketball plays tonight. Sweet 16, the pioneer of predictive modeling in sports betting. Dr. Bob will join us here this hour, as will Chris Felica, Steve Fezzik. Fezzik has so many topics to talk about with us sports betting-wise that have got his goat. One of the many meanings of the word goat that we use. Got his goat. Do people still say that name?
No, nobody.
And then then we transition also, not only college basketball, but Adam Burke will go college basketball and baseball with us, VSiN managing editor. And in moments, Jensen Lewis will stick around, right? He's taking like a bathroom break here.
Yep.
He will stick around and we will
redo
talk.
the makeup.
That's right. And we will talk Major League Baseball. And you know how people are like, okay, you don't want to overreact to day one? I want Jensen to overreact to day one. That's my whole point.
Right. Well, I already told you we were sitting there watching the games last night. Marlins, White Sox, World Series exacta in the account. Let's go.
Yeah. Well,
playing. Don't bet that.
I'll have a question for him regarding that. Hey, the VSiN Bracket Challenge, let me just start with this. Kelly, I'm trying to call up the standings here, Kelly. First of all, in the main standings, the one that actually counts for listeners, grand prize $3,000, second prize $1,500, third $500. Now, it's the middle of the Sweet 16, so we can't really square the standings yet because you get 4 picks over the 2 days, Thursday and Friday. So some people have played 4, some have played 0, some played 3, 2, 1. You get it. So the standings aren't square. But Brandon Sigg right now, first 3 letters, last name, in the lead, 26-7-0. But that'll change perhaps after today.
Say the record again.
26-7-0.
Jeez.
Yeah, man. And these are also, by the way, staggered scoring, right? So it's 1 point for the first round, 2 points for the second round, 4 points for the Sweet 16. And even still, 26-7-0, that kind of trumps all of that because you're still going 26-7-0 over all of it.
I love when we do things like this, right? Because when you look at the top, right, you say 26-7-0, you're like, man, I hope you're betting every one of these. But then you look at the bottom, and it's like, I hope you're not betting
all this. Now, the VSiN standings, which is the VSiN employees, hosts included, all in there, right? Our buddy Miles Gwynn behind the scenes. What is Miles these days? Is he COO Emperor? What is he? What is his title?
I believe that's exactly
it.
That's
what
I believe
is. Miles,
nailed it.
21-11-1. Miles currently in the lead. Again, halfway through the Sweet 16. This is subject to change. Kelly Bidlin tied for 6th.
Plummeted after I didn't play the 2 late games yesterday.
Well, yeah,
I'd risen to 2nd.
You had. Kelly Bidlin in 6th. Yours truly in 17th. Kelly Bidlin in 6th. If Duke had covered, you and me would have been probably like tied for 4th or something.
Still got 2 alive in this round, though.
All right, you're 6th. I'm 17th.
Still only 16-15-1, though. I
dude,
thought my record was better.
You don't want to know my record, and I'm in 17th. 14-18-1. But I do that clever thing where I got better as the tournament went on. So I'm the sneaky, freaky brother sneaking in from the rear.
That's all that matters. We were just talking about it in the back, like me and the crew. Like
I'm gaming the game.
It's a great contest because even if you do forget a day or something like this, Gil, like you can, if you forgot a day early in the early rounds, you can still make up ground because the points are worse.
Kelly, I lost 8 in a row.
Yeah.
I lost 8 games in a row, and I'm still trying to win this thing. What did I say last time? I go, clearly I'm the man to beat.
Clearly.
Clearly
there's also some rumoring going on amongst the crew of, should members of management, ownership, really be able to be up there in the standings.
Sure they should.
I think they should, too.
Just so they can hold it over our heads also.
Yeah.
As far as the basketball last night, I mean, we finally got our classic. That's for sure. Arkansas and Texas Tech, what a ball game that turned out to be. We finally got just a truly awesome basketball game, and kind of out of nowhere, right? because Arkansas was winning this game as a 10 seed, the only remaining double-digit seed. They were winning it by 16 with at the 10-minute mark of this game. Winning by 16 at the 10-minute mark. Then Texas Tech rallied, but Arkansas got it back up to 13 with under 5 minutes to play. Got it back up to 13, and then the run for Texas Tech down the stretch that ultimately forced overtime, and the Red Raiders win it in OT 85-83, which means that my Elite Eight mine among millions, still remain intact. It's amazing. I've never had an Elite Eight intact ever in my life. This year, it just keeps getting through. But I just want to say this about the game. Now, Kelly and I, along with Michael Montesano and Carl Sack, we were watching it at a sportsbook, so you don't get the audio for every game. And I was mentioning this. Will had me on his podcast. Will Hill was kind enough to have me on his podcast yesterday. There should have been more pod. And I mentioned this with him. So we had the audio for the Duke-Arizona game. And by the way, Duke scores 100 points and doesn't cover against Arkansas. Would you tell me they have 100 points all day long? I'm telling you they're covering, but they didn't. They couldn't stop Arizona from scoring. So we're getting the audio of the Duke-Arizona game on the big screen as that game's winding down while Arkansas-Texas Tech is playing in the smaller TV. They eventually switch to it for overtime. But it gets down, so they bring the lead back up to 13, Arkansas does, under the 5-minute mark. Texas Tech rallies. They get it within 3, and under the 2-minute mark, Arkansas gets a 3-pointer to push it back up to 6. Texas Tech misses a shot, and Arkansas has the ball up 6. And so we don't have the audio on this, so I'm just asking the listeners, as I asked Will, and I'll tell you what Will's response was. I go, but to me, the biggest moment of this game happened at this point. Arkansas misses a shot. Jonell Davis gets the rebound for Arkansas, and a tie-up is called. Right, the ball might have been tied up in his hands on the rebound for a split second.
Yeah.
Usually they let it go a beat or two of a tie-up before they blow the whistle. These refs, it was such a quick whistle. They go to the possession arrow. It's Texas Tech's. They hit a 3 immediately, and you know the rest. They get a 3 eventually to tie it and force overtime, win the game. But I didn't have the audio. We didn't have the audio. I said this to Will, and Will was nodding his head, and he was smiling. He goes, you know what? Usually Stan Van Gundy notices or mentions something. He's usually good about all these little nuances, and he didn't say anything. To me, just watching on the second screen, that was the biggest moment of the game because that was a awfully quick whistle, and that changed everything. Changed everything down the stretch.
It was huge. Stan's probably like me watching some of these games where you're like, I don't know what, like the NBA equivalent would not be the same as what happens with college basketball. They'd let them rip at it for a while before they'd call a jump ball. Also, why can't we just do a jump ball? I hate the possession arrow so much.
Moves the game along.
I know.
Moves the game along. By the way, when I was a kid, they did the jump ball way, way, way back in the day before they invented such a thing as a possession arrow. Alabama, just absolutely 25 3-pointers made. They set the record in their game, the all-time tournament record for 3-pointers made. Montesano asked me, he goes, guess whose record they shattered? And I said, give me one hit. He said the 90s. I go, oh, Loyola Marymount had to be. Loyola Marymount, I think, scored like 140 in one game, and Alabama just destroys that 3-point record as they crush BYU, 113-88. If you throw in Duke having to stave off Arizona last night as something, Alabama's had actually the easiest road into the Elite Eight of the teams that have gotten there from last night. Robert Morris gave them the toughest game. So Alabama advances as well. And then the other one, obviously...
I'm still trying to figure out, Gil, what we saw in the beginning of that game, though. Me and you were joking about the 2-foot passes BYU was getting right under the rim that were so effective.
Alabama kept losing a defender underneath. I was like, what are we doing?
That part's still a concern with them going forward. But that offense, man, when it's on, it's on.
And no whistles, so there was just free flow, free gym, as they used to say in elementary school. Free gym, everybody, for Alabama. But I do want to talk about Maryland for a second also because I have a bunch of Maryland friends. Florida beating Maryland by 16. Remember my whole handicap, and I think a lot of people's handicap, for those of us who had Florida minus the points yesterday, was, look, it's the Crab 5. At some point, you're going to get worn out, and Florida's going to pull away. That's exactly what happened yesterday, right? Maryland played with them in the first half. Florida blew it open in the second. And it's so funny because all my Maryland fan friends, literally I could have gone 4-3-2-1 right after the game and predicted I was going to get a Kevin Willard text. And of course I did from my buddy who's like, oh, Kevin Willard, they were totally unprepared. Like completely putting blame on Willard because of all this, all this stuff about Willard going to Villanova, and Maryland fans, justifiably in some cases, they hate him. I get it. But this was not because Kevin Willard had them unprepared. They didn't come out in the second half. No, it's exactly what the handicap was. Florida, literally, Maryland had 3 guys who scored their first 30 points, and their entire output of 71 was scored by 4 guys. That's Maryland. You're not going to beat Florida in the end doing that. So I get it. You hate Kevin Willard, but the loss is not on Willard. The other thing I want to just say, and this is off the game itself, but it's driving me crazy in mainstream media and also just Maryland fans talking, or just general fans talking about Willard, because it's easy to pile on Kevin Willard speculated to go to Villanova to be their head coach. Everybody's, I keep trying to get at this. People give me the reason. Why is Villanova a better job than Maryland, right? It's a valid question that people should ask, but people should also try to get to the reason. Valid answers that do not cover the subject are, Villanova has a more storied history. Okay, that's not a reason to take the job. Willard being from that part of the country is a more valid reason than Villanova being a storied job. My whole thing to my Maryland fans and to some of the mainstream medias that don't flesh it out is okay, please explain again, wasn't Maryland's, first of all, is a Big Ten school. You're leaving a Big Ten school to go to Villanova? Maryland is supposed to have all that Under Armour money, right? What happened to all that Under Armour money? By the way, they say, he's not happy with the way he's being treated at Maryland. They offered him one of the top 10 contracts in college basketball as a coach. So it's not that either. The point that no one's making is, and this is a new thing with NIL that people have to seize on, there's going to be a salary cap at some point, and it could be as early as next year. And the reason Villanova's a better job is because Maryland, it's not about your program, it's about the athletic department. And Maryland basketball has to deal with Maryland football and Maryland's women hoops, whereas at Villanova, men's basketball doesn't have to deal with any of that. Coming back, Jensen Lewis on baseball, numbers game, coming up.
So, Paulie, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it, it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Bill's in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole nine, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's late night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
On the next episode of Prop Points, we'll start off recapping opening day in Major League Baseball, plus the first round of matchups in the Sweet 16. We'll be joined by our good friend, Brandon Kravitz, to preview and break down Friday's Sweet 16 slate. We'll tell you where all the money's coming in on those 4 games. You can get those figures over at vsin.com/splits. Finally, Jeff Erickson and I will give out our favorite player props for Friday's slate in both the NBA and MLB. I'm Nick Whalen. Tune in to Prop Points at 2 p.m. Eastern on VSiN, the sports betting network.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Want to bet smarter? Start with Smarter Insights. Right now, you can check out Friday's Sweet 16 game previews, Greg Peterson's best bets in college hoops and Major League Baseball, Tyler Shoemaker's women's Sweet 16 best bets, and later today, not to be outdone, Zachary Cohen's best bets in the NBA, Adam Burke's MLB best bets, Steve Makinen's MLB analytics report, all of that to get access to all the articles and betting guides on VSiN.com. Right now, you can sign up for as little as $9.99. Just head to VSiN.com/subscribe to sign up today. Skill Alexander, Jensen Lewis, kind enough to hang out and join us in studio. He, of course, the co-host of By the Books, which precedes a numbers game every day here, weekdays at VSiN. Your co-host being Dave Ross. Jensen Lewis, first time on the show. How you doing, man?
Good. It's I was telling you before, I usually have you guys on once we finish because that's my breakfast time on the East Coast, and so get to hear all your great stuff. And I am excited to start tailing you for tennis. As the guru. So,
well, let me tell you something. You're glad you didn't tell me the last month.
Yeah, right.
You picked a good month to avoid.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
all right.
Let's put it that way. Okay, but you reminded me of something. I hope you don't mind me stealing part of your thunder here at the top. But you just reminded me of something. So yesterday and this week on a numbers game, we've had a few baseball guys, of course, our regulars come on. Mark Borchert had a black and orange MLB parlay yesterday, the Orioles and the Giants. That hit.
Yes.
With Giants magic in the ninth, everybody, by the way. As they start with that kind of thing. Then we had Joe Pita come on yesterday. First of all, we had John Legasa hit a 15-1 Orioles most runs yesterday.
Oh, wow, yeah.
15-1 from Legasa. And then Joe Pita, I mentioned, he wasn't on the show, but I mentioned his picks yesterday. And he went 3-0.
Swept the board.
A cool 3-0.
Yeah.
Would you like to hear Joe's plays today?
Well, I know one of them that he put yesterday because he texted me.
Yeah.
Excuse me, your DM, and he's like, how do you like the Guardians even with Bybee out? And I was like, I was kind of on the Royals before. I might like it a little better. I was like, all right. So you end up pulling that one out in extra innings. What's he got today?
He's got the Marlins today.
Okay, I liked them. Yep.
Marlins trying to go 2-0.
Yep.
He's got the Padres against the Braves.
Yep, I'm on them -1.
Rangers plus 102. By the way, Marlins plus 126. Padres minus 123. Rangers plus 102 against the Red Sox.
Yeah, Tanner Houck could be a little dicey there.
And then he's got the Metropolitans plus 107 against the Astros, which for those of us who have Race to 10 and March, April, let's just start here. I want to, people are always like, let's not overreact to day one.
Sure.
I want you to lean towards overreacting.
Yeah, okay.
So let me tell you 3 things I actually heard, and you tell me about these. Are these overreactions or not? One is, the Dodgers, by the way, sorry, Tigers' first 5 bettors also yesterday. Brutal. Dodgers are 3-0. They appear to be as awesome as anyone ever speculated and reflective of their season win total of 103.5. Could they exceed that win total? Are they that good? And if so, by how much?
I wanted to go under, I think it was at 104.5, 105.5, wherever it ended up. And they remind me of LeBron years ago with the Cavaliers, where they didn't care about getting the 1 seed. They knew they were that good. It didn't matter what seed. They just get in, let's get healthy, and we're going to run the table, and they did. I could see a little bit of that if there is an attrition in the rotation or overall in the pitching staff. You remember last couple of years, they've gone through a boatload of starters. And I think that they understand that, the regular season is a warm-up, and that's how they've kind of treated it. So could they get there? Yes. I do think they're going to face resistance in the National League. I think within the division, Arizona's going to play them tough. I think San Diego will as well. The head-to-heads against Atlanta, when Atlanta's finally healthy, because I think that from a scheduling standpoint, they'll be okay there. It's just a matter of the motivation when you get to September. Like, do they want to keep doing it, or is it that taper period where we know we're here for October?
So this is so great to hear it from you, a man who actually played the game. Jensen played for the Cleveland Indians at the time. But that's, we speculate as bettors. We speculate about stuff like that. Well, do they really care at the end? We're doing it with OKC in basketball now. Do they care enough to get to 70 wins? But what you're suggesting is it actually is a thing. We're not imagining that.
If you're an over better there, or you already have over in pocket, you're hoping that in Atlanta or a Philly or the Mets, just thinking of those teams, can push them for the number 1 overall seed or a first round bye. Barring something unforeseen, we would assume that the Dodgers get at least the 2 seed, if not the 1.
Ball players and organizations don't care, but like the Seattle Mariners, what was it, in 2000, was it?
Yeah, 116.
116. they wouldn't be interested. Like we would say, right? We'd have them more and be like, I don't know, they get to 117 and break that record. Yeah. But that's kind of nonsense.
Doesn't equate. And honestly, for how analytically driven that front office is, Brandon Gomes and I go way back. We played together in the Cape Cod League. And so I knew him then, and seeing what he's doing now, it's, you put the genius of Andrew Friedman, with that machine. And it's a literal machine that they have. I think there's a lot of information with those guys now. We're like, okay, we don't need to dial this in all the way through 160. Like, we're not expending ourselves to win the regular season. We're here to win back-to-back World Series. And if they need to dial it back and shift down just to make sure everyone's healthy, they may do that.
Our sense of history is not theirs.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. By the way, we talked a little bit about this off air yesterday, but did you get a pang yesterday when you watched opening day?
Yesterday was unique, Gil, because it's the first opening day I've had in probably 13 or 14 years where I was not at a stadium or in a studio covering the team. And I loved it because sitting back here, I'm like, God, I have everything in front of me. It is so cool.
So great.
And it's so awesome from this time zone. I lived in Scottsdale for 4 years when I transitioned from the Indians to the Diamondbacks, played with the Cubs. And that was my favorite part, was the off seasons where football started at 10 a.m. Yesterday, and again, I've said this, we joke, in a Lewis Ross administration, a day one executive order is you must have at least 1 p.m. start Eastern time on opening day. It's a travesty.
That was brutal.
It's a travesty. So
also today's kind of brutal
exactly,
too.
Yeah. And I get it from the scheduling because they do that for potential rain out so that everyone gets their home opener within a day or two. But I honestly loved having the atmosphere here. Greg Maddox, a childhood hero of mine. So unique setup, and it was a unique day. So it was fun to be able to take in all those games, not have to concentrate on just one of them. So I loved it.
Good. I'm glad you're far enough along now where you're not like, I wish I was a Greg Maddox, a yearly tradition now, it feels like, here at Circa. Okay, a couple other things heard yesterday. So both the White Sox and the Marlins win.
Yep.
Obviously lined as the worst two teams in baseball, but also perceived that way just beyond the betting markets. And yet they win their first game, and the White Sox crush the Angels. Mm-hmm. And so the person next to me immediately goes, hey, what's the price on the Angels for the worst record? Is that a valid overreaction?
March and April, I've always dubbed as overreaction, both in the best and worst ways. Yeah. So if your team won yesterday, oh God, this is the year, we're doing it.
Yeah.
And vice versa as you experience. I actually looked at St. Louis for a super duper long shot that if they were going to be the most lost team, I looked at them just from if we're going to scuttle the ship, if we get out to a horrendous start, then it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when Arenado's gone. What do you do with Sonny Gray? Like, you might as well just rip it down to the studs. So that was a super long shot if that were to come through. The Rockies, I think, would be better. I've never seen as bad a team as the White Sox was last year. And Grady Sizemore is my teammate. God love him.
Yeah.
I asked him, I'm like, what do you do? He goes, it wasn't really incumbent upon me. Yes, I was on the staff.
Yeah.
But it was more of, well, I can't worry about that. I got to show you in a 3-week span that I can do the job, and I can get these guys motivated to play when this is still hanging over us. So I think they'll be better. But Gil, man, I mean, you look at some of those lineups that potentially could be out there, and you got Mike Tauchman on the IL. You still don't have full strength Chicago White Sox. What does that look like?
That's right.
I mean, that is ridiculous. So I think they'll be better. I don't know if they can escape another 100-loss season.
Okay, so I'm hearing not so much on the Angels.
Yeah.
Then. Okay, and the one other thing, Mackenzie Gore comes out for the Nationals yesterday. 6 innings, no runs, 1 hit, 13 Ks, I believe 0 free passes, if I'm not mistaken.
He was a long shot Cy Young play for me.
That was the next question. Is
Loved
there a
it.
Cy Young play?
Just again, you get that kind of value. We're now starting to see the real fruits of the Juan Soto trade come to bear, and for him, he took such a big step last year at the end of the season, and now to have that kind of a start against that lineup too. And Philly traditionally has been very good against the Nationals. So to see that was very encouraging, to say the least.
So you are in support of that kind of reaction. Mm-hmm. Okay. By the way, 2 batters later, of course, Bryce Harper's like, oh, you're not in? Mackenzie Gore's out? Here we go. Okay, and what did you sorry to stole your thunder with all our other guest picks early. What did you land on today?
So far, in pocket under in the Athletics and the Mariners, under 7, -1 on the Padres. I'll ride with Joe on that. I may look at the Red Sox -1 again, jump on that. We'll kind of see where it's at. But, again, you're just kind of remembering, all right, starters are still working into it. How quick's the hook? Bad bullpens, Reds, Braves still trying to figure it out. Rangers still trying to figure it out at the end. So those are the things I kind of hone in on the first couple of weeks.
Okay. You have carte blanche. Whenever you want to come on the show, seriously, whenever you want to come on the show, you just tell us, and we'll make room for
Roger
you.
that. Sounds great, man.
We'd love to talk baseball with you and anything else you want to talk about.
Sounds good.
Doesn't have to be baseball. Talk White Lotus, whatever it is.
Yeah, oh, God. We got to catch up. We'll catch up on the plane.
Jensen Lewis, everybody, co-host of By the Books, which precedes a numbers game here every morning, kicks off the day here at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We'll come back. Dr. Bob and his Sweet 16 plays next, right here, the Sports Betting Network.
And they're off.
For just $9.99, VSiN's got you covered for March Mania with a VSiN Pro subscription. You'll get access to bracket breakdowns, daily expert picks, as well as our March Mania betting guide, exclusive to Pro subscribers. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe today to sign up for just $9.99. And don't forget to catch us on the go with the VSiN Watch app, or listen on SiriusXM Channel 158, and join us on the Sports Betting Network.
This is VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
The Numbers Game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Edge Boost is the first ever bank account built for bettors, ensuring all gambling transactions are approved. No usage fees, no minimums. Earn cashback rewards. 100% approval for all betting deposits. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet with promo code ANG. That's promo code ANG.
As an A numbers game.
That's what I thought you said. Deposit $25 and Edge Boost will match the deposit. That's edgeboost.bet. Skill Alexander. Ladies and gentlemen, can we do a wide shot here of me and Kelly? This is Kelly Bidlin now in the chair after Jensen Lewis was sitting next to me.
This is what happens when former professional athletes come into the studio and sit in your chair.
That's how that's the seating embodiment of how I felt when Candace Parker was at the Aria.
Yeah.
Did I tell the story on air ever? I don't know what I tell on air or off air.
I mean, you've told it to me 17 times, and it's a great story.
Candace Parker was there at the Aria. She's 6'4", right? And she's, objectively a beautiful woman, right? But it was 6'4". I just remember thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my God. Like, a person like this, it's like the Chris Rock. Do you ever hear the Chris Rock story when he... Not that I was trying to talk to Candace Parker, by the way. Let me just explain that. But Chris Rock tells this story about how he was divorced and he was at an event with Rihanna. And he was like, I'm going to go talk to Rihanna, right, see what happens. And Chris Rock said afterwards, he goes, not only was she not interested, she viewed me as asexual. So this is the seating equivalent of that. Do you feel emasculated right now?
I feel so beyond ridiculous. The two shot is just, I mean, look at this. It looks like I'm purposely just, I don't know, like sitting cross-legged on the floor.
That's
which
so
I basically
great.
am.
You want to prop that up, or are you just going to do the segment like
No,
that?
I was waiting for a good time, but I
okay.
guess there's not really a good time. So
I'll read tweets so that you could handle that. We get tweets at Beating the Book. I always appreciate the feedback from everybody. This is from... Let's see, prime time, Cowboys _ Cubs 1. Hey, yo, man, what's happening?
It gets longer every time now.
He said, still having a tough time with thoughts of base winners singing uh-huh and boom earlier this week. Disturbingly funny. I've got a lot of problems with you people, he says to us, and yet I still listen. Happy Festivus. Thank you, prime time. We appreciate it. I got a lot of problems with you people. This is from, let's see, Told You, Fade You. Happy Friday, gentlemen. Longtime listener from Canada. He said he's got a tennis play today. Mensick to beat Fritz. I can see him winning in 3 sets. Keep up the good work. Hope to see you guys this summer when I come sign up for Survivor. Yes, please do say hello. Dan Abrams, author, Dr. Raz, WSOP, World Series of Poker. He says, Crackman and Gill agree it's shameful that they take away MLB dime lines. Well, based on their examples, the books were screwing themselves for years with those lines. Anyway, he's chiming in on our conversation that we had yesterday. Me and Crack and Fez and I will have a conversation that will sort of play off of that a little later on as well. Hoops by Hoots. Alabama just scored again during the commercial break. Yes, they did. A. Brown, if there's time, can you have Fezzik run through hedging strategy at this point in the tourney? Sitting on some monster futures, but of course none of them are Duke or Florida. Texas Tech, 70-1 feels like it's time. Yeah, we'll get his thoughts on that. We have so much to talk about. I just want to go back real quick to the point I was making about Kevin Willard, because I sort of ran into the commercial with it. Because everybody, again, with the Maryland situation, Kevin Willard speculated to be on his way to Villanova. Even some Maryland people wanted to do the Bo Schembechler thing and say, he's a Maryland man, get him out of there before the game. The reason that the biggest reason why Villanova ends up being a better job than Maryland, this is a macro thing we have to think about. It's a NIL thing that we haven't yet considered, is that when you are at a school where the program you're going to happens to be top dog, if a salary cap, some sort of regulation comes through and even begins as early as next year, who knows, that Maryland basketball is at a disadvantage because they have Maryland football and even Maryland's women's basketball to have to divvy up their salary cap pie. Whereas Villanova men's basketball trumps every other sport, including women's basketball, football, all that at that institution. So you can get mad at Kevin Willard, and yes, he's handled it poorly, and you can express all the vitriol you want, but that's really the biggest reason. Beyond Villanova has a better basketball history than Maryland. That's really the reason why he has eyes for Villanova, including that he's from that part of the country.
I do think it's interesting just with the kind of tracking following the money, right? Where is this money coming from? And it is, like we were talking about yesterday with Maryland and the Under Armour stuff, like things that were a story 10 years ago or 15 years ago. You remember A&M, right? When Jimbo went to A&M and there was the big A&M's got all these big-time financial backers. Like, they're always going to be able to outspend nearly everybody. That's why they get... And, my point, though, is these stories change over time, right? We were talking about, BYU yesterday, sitting in the book. BYU, sneaky. They're getting, allegedly getting a lot of money from the owner of the Utah Jazz, who owns multiple, professional sports franchises in Salt Lake City. It's just... And
are allegedly about to pay the best high school basketball player in the country $7 million a year, depending on what you believe.
It's just, you don't know when someone's going to have the money that they want to spend on one of these programs and what the tie might be.
And I'll say it again, I can't tell you how many years I had to hear people from Maryland, because I'm from that part of the country, talk about, we got the Under Armour money, we're going to outspend everybody. Yeah. And remember all those great football uniforms? It was all Under Armour money that Maryland had and all that. And then in the end, if you get a cap, all of a sudden that even playing field, right, erases a lot of what we initially thought is the driving force behind all of this. So it's all about the economics of it. And I was just laughing. I could have counted down my Maryland fan friends texting in that. Willard had them unprepared. No, dude, Florida's better. And you got 4 dudes scoring.
Yeah.
Stop it.
I know some of this stuff is frustrating, confusing, and everything, but, man, there's still a part of me, Gil, that's just happy to see this kind of money involved in college sport. At the end of the day, the kids are getting paid, and that's all I really care about. Yeah. We have been benefiting off of their entertainment value for years without them seeing a dime, and they're finally getting some money. So I know it's all crazy up in the air right now with some of these schools, but at the end of the day, I'm still happy about that.
All right, we get text as well. I love it. People who are on our show actually listen to the show as well. Joe Pita texting in after he gave out his 4 picks here. I just gave out his 4 picks after a 3-0 sweep from Pita yesterday. He says 3 thoughts. 1, overreaction to day 1? Pfft, he says, I have a whiteboard hanging over the master bedroom with the Phillies magic number already dropping like a pinball counter. He said 2, the Rockies are going to have the worst record in baseball. He says that lineup, oof. And 3, love Jensen. Used to be on his show a decade ago in Cleveland, he says. And then Steve Fezzik, the alt total under 111.5 on the Dodgers minus 270 was really good. -2, I agree with that. 111.5 under, I'd lay minus 270. I'd laid the under on Cleveland, which was my biggest conviction, but absolutely I would have loved that too. It's just, I think Jensen added a lot of insight there too. Yeah, these teams don't care sometimes about the things we think they care about. Because we're fans, right? Before we were bettors, most of us, we all started out as fans. And I'm the first to admit, I love historical stuff, right? But I'm aware that sometimes from a betting standpoint, it doesn't apply. So that whole thing with the Oklahoma City Thunder, I said this the other day, I have Dagnall to be Coach of the Year, thinking that Oklahoma City might get to 70 wins, but I said the other day, but the fly in the ointment is, if Oklahoma City clinches home court for a potential NBA Finals, meaning if they clear the Cavaliers by, let's say, more than 2 games with 2 games left, they're not running out their players, one wouldn't think. So my whole thing with this is, Cleveland, please keep winning. Please keep staying right next to OKC so that it pushes OKC to win 70. That makes sense?
Yeah.
You're not
no, it makes sense.
You're like, I have no idea what he's talking about.
No. It makes sense. I don't know how much of that. I think you're worried about the margins a little bit. I don't know. I think if they just keep winning, that's all you got to care about.
No. But I think I am worried about the right thing, which is what we're talking about with Jensen, which is at some point they don't care about the things we do. Like, well, oh my God, you can win 70 games and be the 3rd greatest team in the history of the NBA. They're like, I don't care. I just want
they want home court.
Yeah,
I
want home court, and I want my players rested. We could do both. Great.
I did make a bet. I did make an NBA futures bet this morning.
What'd you do?
Thought I'd get a little better number. I'm a little disappointed. Clippers, the new sliding scale. We might start this next week of Kelly's power rankings in the NBA Western Conference, because they change every single day, basically.
I'm supposed to ask you this every week,
of the
right?
confidence rankings, of long-term confidence rankings.
The question I'm supposed to ask you every week, which I have a few weeks, is, okay, if OKC doesn't win the West, who's the team that's going to win it? And it changes every answer.
It changes all the time. And look, I think that the Clippers are a really good team. I'm going to do it for JVT this year, man. This is... I'm back to it. Yes, I have circled back, and I'm not going to say, like, I think the Nuggets and Warriors are probably the most likely second best teams in the Western Conference. I think once we get into the playoffs, that is how it's likely going to play out. But this Clippers team is built offensively and defensively to give any of these teams a run. So the way I played this, because I've got a lot of bets on the Thunder to win the West. So how I did this was I did a little exacta. NBA Finals exacta, Celtics to beat the Clippers 100-1.
Celtics to beat the Clippers 100-1.
100-1.
All right, Bob overslept. You want me to give you Bob's plays today?
Yeah, what do you got?
He's on Auburn minus the points against Michigan, so we're up.
Oh, that's not good.
And he's on Tennessee laying the points against Kentucky. So Tennessee -4 over Kentucky, and he had Michigan. He had Auburn -8 over Michigan when he first put them out. Coming back with Chris Valika next on A Numbers Game.
Sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup, then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to vsin.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Back on a numbers game live from Circa. Horse racing fans, get ready. VSiN at the track. The road to the Kentucky Derby is live today and every Friday leading up to the Triple Crown. With key Derby prep races this weekend, we're breaking down the top contenders for this year's Run for the Roses. Join experts Patrick Maher and Aaron Halterman today at 2:15 p.m. Eastern on the VSiN YouTube channel at VSiN Live for expert analysis and insights. Don't miss it. VSiN at the track, streaming live 2:15 p.m. Eastern as we count down to the Triple Crown. And if only we had someone to talk horses with us.
If only. New horse racing show at VSiN, though. Check it out.
Yeah, man.
This is Mike Somich, usually regularly part of it going forward. I believe he's somewhere on a beach in the Caribbean this week, so good for him. But, yeah.
Before we get to Chris Felica, talk horses. By the way, we talked about this last week, too, with the new horse racing show. David Shalif, first of all, Jamie Leva has a picture of you in that needing a booster seat. He says, nice power move, Gil. Can someone get Kelly a booster seat? David Shalafor, why do I think Chris Felica would never sleep in? Let's go. He wouldn't. Felica's with us. But Kevin Ryan goes, Gil, did Bob really oversleep or did his face melt off? I can't feel my face when I'm with you. You know that story. Jack Larkin from Sport Trade, he goes, Bob, pioneer, legend, and now sleeper. People enjoying Bob sleeping in. Chris Felica, you're right. Chris Felica would never sleep in. He joins us now courtesy of the Progressive Guest Line. You can follow him on Twitter very cleverly at Chris Felica, Fallica. What's happening, man?
Not the heck of what. I would never sleep in and miss a segment or a hit or anything like that. But I've had a tendency to sleep in. Actually, yesterday, as a matter of fact, see our cats. One of them likes to wake you up in the middle of the night and walk on your chest or back as you're sleeping, and so then you're up for a while. So I literally woke up. I woke up yesterday morning at 7, and then I went back to bed. I actually woke up 10:30, so I missed the start of your show yesterday. But I'll sleep in every now and then if I got nothing going on. But I would never oversleep and miss a fine experience here on our numbers.
Unacceptable, but we'll allow it this one.
I feel like the mandatory follow-up question whenever I hear someone say cats is, how many cats?
Two. We have two.
Okay.
We have two, but only one of them is the nocturnal. Oh, I brought you a toy. I'm gonna walk on you right now. I want.
Felica and Dr. Bob, both cats guys. Two cats per guy. Yeah.
I'm pro animal. I'm cat, dog, you name it. I like animals more than I do people.
They're better. Yeah,
they're better. They're better species. Okay, we have a lot to get to, and we just talked about horse racing. This is a monster horse racing weekend. That includes, which you'll run up to here, but you have a few bets, one of which involves a Derby favorite of yours, too. Let's start with what you got here.
Yeah, it was the horse that we were talking about weeks ago before he'd even run, Cornucopian, the Bob Baffert 3-year-old colt who broke his maiden in his first race at Oaklawn last February, or about a month, literally a little over a month ago. But his figures sheet-wise, in his debut was better than Curlin, better than Justify, and we know the types of horses that those two went on to be. He is the 7-5 morning line favorite in the Arkansas Derby. He drew an outside post. He should be able to kind of break as he wants, either on top or just off of any other potential speed in the race. But I think he's the fastest horse in the race. I think he goes on. If you can bet him at 7-5 fixed odds in the Arkansas Derby tomorrow, I would do that. The 50s and 60 to 1s that we were talking about weeks ago are now gone, obviously, in the Derby pool. I believe he is still around 12 to 1 or so at William Hill Caesars. So I would suggest a bet on that, only because if he does win tomorrow and he makes the gate in the Derby, he's going to be 9 to 2, somewhere around there. Maybe he won't win the Derby, but again, you're going to give yourself a position to be able to play some other horses in the race, and knowing that you've got a hell of a better price on Cornucopian.
Let me just repeat that. So Chris loves Cornucopian to win the Kentucky Derby, 12 to 1 now. Not as good as what he had, but 12 to 1 now. But he races in the Arkansas Derby tomorrow.
Right.
And in the event that Cornucopian wins the Arkansas Derby, you ain't going to get near that price. So if you want to bet Cornucopian for the Kentucky Derby, bet him now. Bet him before this race tomorrow. Okay.
Correct.
What are the other two you got?
The Fantasy Stakes at Oaklawn, which is the big 3-year-old fillies race at Oaklawn tomorrow before the Kentucky Oaks. I think the number 1 horse, Take Charge Milady, for Kenny McPeak is interesting. jockey change going from Julian Leparoux to Brian Hernandez. Remember, Brian Hernandez is the jockey that McPeak used last year in the Kentucky Oaks to win that race with Torpedo Anna. Used Brian Hernandez Jr. in the Kentucky Derby to win that race as well. So I think we're looking at a similar type situation here. He's got his main man on. The last race on the Honeybee here at this track, total throwout, never in it, steady at the start, never traffic all the way around. It was 4-1 in that race. And the winner in that race, Quiet Side, was like 10 or 11-1. So Big Charge Milady was higher thought of going into that race than the ultimate winner of that race was. Big Charge Milady breaks from the rail. Good price. I think that's a horse that you want to use there. And then the Florida Derby at Gulfstream tomorrow. They're obviously their big race. I think there's a lot of speed in this race. I think you're going to see a horse like Disruptor go to the front. Neokos is going to go to the front. Matticat Road is probably going to be near the front. Tappan Street maybe will be near the front. But I think the number 6 horse, Jimmy's Dailies, is someone that you might want to take a look at 12-1. Broke made it 7 furlongs, 2 starts back, sat off the pace, and ultimately drew off and beat a really nice horse, Disruptor, who's also in the Florida Derby here. First race versus winners, there really wasn't much speed in the race. So they went to the front, didn't necessarily go well, finished beaten second, but well clear of the third place horse. Jimmy's Daly's not going to have to go to the front here with Joel Rosario on this horse's back. I think this horse sits off the lead, and I think Jimmy's Daly's at 12-1 is a must-use, at least at the minimum, in the exotics.
Okay. Watch this transition, Kelly. Soccer, go.
Yeah, I'm not going to get too in the weeds here because I know we probably want to talk some hoops as well. And look, I know betting parlays is not the way to go, but I threw together a four-legged parlay here in soccer for tomorrow. Under 1.5 team goals for each of these teams. It's just a little insurance, being that maybe you get a blowout in a couple of these games because you got some league leaders involved against bottom-level teams that are getting relegated. So a lot of times maybe you get a late goal when teams kind of are up 3 or 4-0. So this is minus 145. You've got Swansea under 1.5 at Leeds. This is English Championship. Leeds is atop the table. Swansea's kind of in the middle there. Leeds does not allow a ton of goals at home. They need the 3 points that they should get by Swansea. Lincoln under 1.5 at Wickham. This is England League One. Wickham we talked about last week, I believe. They're in the midst of trying to get automatic promotion from League One to the championship. Lincoln's kind of going nowhere this year. Wickham will probably do a good job defensively at home as well. Back to the championship, Burnley, J.J. Watt's team. Again, they're in the mix for automatic promotion in the championship to go back up to the Prem. I would expect this would be a lower scoring game as well. So Bristol City under 1.5 team total at Burnley. And then in La Liga, Valladolid, the bottom team in La Liga right now, they're going down. One of the worst teams in the league, Real Sociedad, a pretty good defensive team. They went through a kind of a lull where they really struggled. They played a little bit better lately, but they're a team. I think they've allowed 10 goals all season at home. I wouldn't expect Valladolid to score 2. So under 1.5 Valladolid, Bristol City, Lincoln, Swansea, all under 1.5, all road teams. Minus 145.
Wow, a massive parlay against human achievement.
Exactly. I'm sorry.
What that is.
I felt a little dirty giving out a parlay, but I you know what? A little entertainment value early on a Saturday morning.
That's all right. All right, Sweet 16 tonight. Obviously, Michigan, Auburn, and Mississippi, Michigan State in the South region in Atlanta, and then Purdue, Houston, Kentucky, Tennessee in the Midwest in Indianapolis. You have a play in the Michigan-Auburn game. How are you playing this?
Yeah, I played Auburn's team total over 81.5. I don't want to lay the 9, nor do I really want to take it. We've seen for the most part the favorites kind of covering easily. I know Duke kind of got backdoored a little bit yesterday, and then Arkansas was the dog that covered easily as well. But I played over 81.5 for Auburn on their team total. I think Michigan is going to have a little bit of trouble defending Auburn. I think Wolf is a matchup problem on the defensive end. I think Vlad Golden is someone who can get into foul trouble. I think we're going to see a parade to the free throw line. I think we're going to see Michigan knock down a bunch of shots. This game feels like it could be in that foul zone mode late. which I would think would lead to Auburn knocking down some free throws late as well. So, yeah, over 81.5 Auburn team total.
All right, and speaking of that Midwest regional, you are making a bet on Houston to win it?
Yeah, I bet Houston before the tournament. I've added more to win this region. -115, I think, is the best price right now. It's the best price that I have access to in Connecticut. I think they blow Purdue out, and I think they are just much better than Kentucky or Tennessee on Sunday. So Houston,
wow,
to win that regional.
I share your confidence today against Purdue. I'm not sure I share it as much on Sunday. To me,
right, well,
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We still could get 1-1-1-1, right? All number one seeds could still make it there for the first time.
Definitely could. It could be a second time ever.
Yeah, first time since 2008. Second time ever. Thank you, Chris. Adam Burke with College Hoops next.
And we're out.
Okay, give me 1 sec. I need to load funds into my gaming apps.